I remember being the same age as you guys, going to school. We used to stay at a campground every summer. Life was awesome when I was your guys' age. You had no worries, didn't need money, didn't have to pay the bills, didn't have to do anything. You just pretty much do whatever you want. And doing what I wanted was maybe a bad idea. Maybe I should have listened a little bit more to my parents and to the people around me that were trying to put me in the right direction, because I kind of went down my own path. And the people I was hanging out with when I was like 13, 14 years old was using, like, smoking pot, doing coke, crystal meth, acid, ecstasy, the whole works. And I always said to myself that I'm never going to end up like them. And me and a few other friends called them pillheads, and I'm never going to be a pillhead, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to do that. About a year later, I was the exact same way they were. I always worked for my father doing concrete work, doing construction work, so I developed back pain quite early in life, with the same age you guys are now. So I started doing a painkiller to get rid of that pain, so I could go to school, I could function, I could work, I could do what I wanted. But that painkiller didn't work after a while, so I stepped up to something bigger, something heavier, which was a stronger painkiller. And then that kept going until that didn't work, so I went stronger. That didn't work, so I went stronger. Then I was taking pills that are for cancer patients. Only cancer patients are supposed to have these. Only cancer patients are supposed to be doing these. And I was doing 4 or 5 of them a day. And that's Oxycontin. Now when I didn't have them, I was as sick as you guys can imagine. Like, just picture waking up in the morning, if you slept at all that night, but opening your eyes in the morning and not being able to do anything until you had a little pill. And if you didn't take that pill, you couldn't go to school, you couldn't go to work, you didn't want to talk to anybody, you couldn't be around anybody. You were so sore, sick, and you couldn't get out of bed. And the mind games that they play on you is, you totally lose it. You're not the same person. I did that for 10 years, 8 years, every single day. I was stealing stuff to get pills. I was selling everything I had to get pills. I was ripping people off to get pills. And if I knew that you had $2 in your pocket, I would do anything I could possibly think of to get that from you. Not by hurting you by no means, but just by talking. An addict is one of the smartest people you will ever meet, because they can do things that you'd never imagine doing. I've ripped off foundations, I non-profit organizations, I've done stuff I'm not proud of at all. When I was 16, I moved out on my own for the first time. By the time I was 18, I had my own house, I had a fiance, I had like everything I wanted to own my own construction company. My father gave it to me when I was 19. I sold that within 6 months. All of it, everything. So can you imagine your parents handing you something over that they've worked for 40 years and then giving it to you because they trust you, and then you blow it down the drain in 6 months? That's not something I'm proud of today. But I've done everything I can to work towards getting that back, to work towards getting the respect from people back, and their trust from my family. I'm working towards getting that back now. What helped me out was the methadone program here in Fredericton. I tried to get on the methadone. Methadone is it's an opiate. It's a drink that you go in and a nurse will give it to you every single day. It's for addicts only, and it's for addicts who were taking painkillers, were taking heroin, was taking a drug that affected your body. Now, coke is a mind drug. It doesn't affect your body. So when you don't have that, you don't go through physical withdrawals. You will go through mental withdrawals, which means that your brain's telling you that you want it. Your brain's telling you that you need it. But when you're dealing with painkillers, then it's your body that's telling you that you need it. Your insides feel like you have the body of an 80, 90-year-old man or woman. And everything hurts from their tip of your toe to their last hair on your head, and it hurts bad. So once I once I realized what I was doing, I realized I had a problem. I realized that I didn't want to live like that anymore. I came to Fulton and tried to go on a methadone program. Well, they have a waiting list here, and for some people you can wait up to 2 years just to help yourself. I ended up waiting 9 months here in Fulton, and I still couldn't get on the program because they have a waiting list that's that long, and they wouldn't tell me how much longer. They wouldn't give me any hope. They wouldn't give me anything, any direction, nothing, no advice, nothing, just sorry, can't help you. So I ended up taking it in my own hands and called around Canada for a clinic that would take me. I ended up calling Calgary, who did not have a waiting list. The next day I got on a plane, I went to Calgary, and I walked into the clinic and was on their methadone maintenance program. So I left there and went to the pharmacy, and that's when the nurse gave me my first drink of this new drug called methadone. Ever since then, I have not touched another pill, I've not done coke, I've not done any illegal drugs since my first drink. And that drink made me feel normal. It made me feel like you guys feel right now, like normal. When you're an addict, you no longer know what normal is. After the first time you experiment with them, you might get high. It's a mood-altering drug, so you feel different. And then after a year goes by, you no longer feel different anymore. You feel sick, withdrawals. You're now using that drug to just feel normal, just to wake up and go to school and be like the rest of your friends. You have to use a drug, and that's something that I don't want anybody else going through. I can't picture you guys like going through withdrawals and hurting and going through what I went through. But the problem is it's out there, and you guys can get involved so easy that it's unbelievable. There's commercials now that you don't even need to go to a drug dealer. It's right there in your house. It's right there. And kids nowadays don't realize the dangers of that, don't realize the importance of that prescription is for somebody for a reason. And people don't think about that. They just take it to see what it's going to do to them. Some people do it because they have problems at home. Some people do it because they have problems at school. Some do it just to fit in. I did it to get away from the pain. And then after a while, it was more to fit in as well. Because the people I hung out with all did the pills. They all had prescriptions from a doctor. And then that just became the group I was in. I didn't have any friends that didn't do drugs. I didn't have any friends that weren't criminals. Everybody I was hanging out with did drugs. They stole, they cheated, they lied, they did everything they could think of. And the more people you have around you, the easier it is to control that lifestyle. The easier it is to get your hands on the drug that you want. When I finally decided that enough was enough, I had to cut ties with all my so-called friends. Everybody I hung out with, I had to change everything. Right now, I have very, very few friends, maybe one or two that I trust, that I could talk to. And without them, I don't think I would be here where I am today, because they really helped me out a lot in telling me, like, yes, I'm doing the right thing, and to keep going. Because there's times that even now, me being clean, that I feel there's no reason, there's no, I can't think of a word here. Anyway, if I don't keep going on the way I am, I'm going to go back to that lifestyle. If I forget about the hardships, if I forget about who I hurt while I was doing that, I'm going to go back to that lifestyle. And that's a lifestyle that nobody needs, that nobody wants. I'm very, very, very lucky to be sitting here today talking to you guys. I'm very, very, very fortunate to be sitting here today talking to you guys. If it wasn't for the methadone program, I wouldn't be here today. I'd either be on the streets, in jail, or 6 feet under the ground. And that's the only three choices I had. There's no in between. You don't do drugs all your life and get away with it, and it just don't happen that way. You either die when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, if you pick that life of drugs. The end is jail, death, or the streets. That's the only other options there are.